Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore, where now we are at the Threads of War. And basically, we have the Wanderer, Kaito, and Tamio. They're all in Tamanshi's compound. And Jingataxis is on the floor, and he's at two halves, essentially. Like, basically, it's just like the top part all the way down to his pants, and that's it. Everything else is split. It's pretty crazy to think about, and how, like, efficiently he got dealt with. And so basically the Wanderer, she doesn't even bother with him after that. She just keeps going, and she's just taking out everyone, and like Kaito's doing his best to keep up. And as they're like fighting each other, they like there's basically no time left. In that amount of time, Tamio has whipped out an entire like a tome and has bound up Tezzeret the same way she did to Kaito. And so he's got his eyes, pink eyes, rage with life. His body's completely like solid though, right? And so
I imagine Kaito trying to keep up. Just like, I'm a strong planeswalker too, and the Wanderer's just like, yeah, you're the fourth strongest planeswalker in this fight.
You're the fifth. She goes, you're the fourth strongest planeswalker in this fight, and then you just see Jingataxis, he like lifts his head fifth. Like, they're like, you don't count. He goes, I walked between planets, didn't I?
I'm the literal definition of a planeswalker.
And so basically, they decide that they're going to take they're going to take Tezzeret back to Eiganjo to basically put him on trial for all the terrible things he's done.
Yay.
And so basically it says here, the Emperor was taught to control her emotions, even during battle. But she was still a child when her spark sent her to another plane. For a long time, she was all alone, grieving alone. So she did the only thing she could. She tightened the lock on her heart and turned her controlled demeanor into a means of survival. And now that she was home, she could feel her emotions thundering against her chest, longing to be set free. But she wouldn't let her guard down, not until she knew for sure that she could stay on Kamigawa. Because if she opened the gates to her heart and allowed herself to feel the joy of seeing her people again, seeing Kaito again, only to have it ripped away from her once more, it might take an entire lifetime to recover from that kind of heartbreak. So basically, that line of her talking about basically the fact that she doesn't want to open up her emotions, that kind of explains why she doesn't have red in this card. She is actively suppressing those emotions, and not so much that she's not allowing herself to feel them, because she does feel them. It's not the blue kind of suppression where, oh no, that's a bad thing. No, it's she wants to be able to feel those things, but she also knows that it requires discipline, and she needs to be able to remain stoic in this moment, because if she allows herself to feel that love that she feels, and it's taken away from her again, it is going to tear her apart. And so she's focusing right now on how she's going to do it with Tezzeret. And so basically they go for Eiganjo immediately. And so while they're going, Tezzeret is completely conscious. And they can actually see the veins in his neck like bulging as he tries to get away from Tamio's magic. So Tezzeret's been captured, but he notices that there's this the reality chip is on the Wanderer's hand. He's like, I can't move my body, but my mind is powerful. And so basically what he does is he just kind of reaches out with his mind, and immediately the Wanderer feels the effect. She screams out in pain as an icy shudder runs through her. And there's this flash of white, and she realizes she's still connected to Kyodai. And she can kind of see Kyodai, and Kyodai's writhing in pain as well. And she's like, oh no, he's destabilizing my spark. It's going to happen again. He's going to send me away. She was literally just thinking about the fact that she doesn't want to get too close to people again, because then if she gets lost and everything's terrible and all that's happening, the Wanderer doesn't have a chance to actually say anything to warn them. Like, look, the reality chip, Tezzeret, badness. And so she's about to, she's already starting to pass out. She's starting to fade away kind of thing. And Kaito's like, no. And he just real quick, he psychics over a large crate into Tezzeret's spine. And it just shatters against him. And the Tezzeret kind of falls oh, ow. And Kaito doesn't even give it a second thought. He just, again, goes for it. And he hits him in the back of the head, and Tezzeret's out cold. And Tamio's his power of technology allows him to manipulate the reality chip. And basically whatever he did is causing her spark to become volatile again. And they're like, well, I thought the whole point of the chip was to keep her anchored. And so Tamio says, look, how about this? We can't stop what Tezzeret's done to you, but I can help remove, like, we can get rid of this thing. And if we do, it's a chance that you're going to planeswalk away, but we got to make sure we can do what we can do. And so basically what the Wanderer says is that she's willing to get rid of it. She's willing to get rid of the chip because if it's unstable and she planeswalks, she'll be stuck with it and it'll be even worse. But if she gives it to Tamio can take care of it, keep it safe, whatever. And so, yes.
That's the card.
Yeah, the green one?
The Emperor's entrusting something to Tamio.
Yes.
It's the reality chip. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So basically, she just kind of like grabs it and then it comes off. In the actual artwork for that card, you don't see the reality chip at all. It just shows her hand open and her hand over it.
Oh, kind of like how we give things to people in Arceus.
Yeah, exactly. Or any Pokemon game where characters actually do something like that.
That hasn't been Pokemon game.
Sorry,
that started in Gen 8.
Any RPG where they do that. So basically, Igandro's still under attack. They still need to go there, and they know that like that's what's going on. So we have this whole deal where they're trying to get across, and they go, okay, look, we need you do something faster than the Sky Fairy, room to carry all four of us, and they basically hijack a mech.
I love that.
Yes. So it was basically it's designed to look like a giant origami reptile, and it's just like perched on top of a giant platform. And so they go, okay, well, let's take it. And so they just kind of take it over, and they mess with the neck wires until they have it set up, and they start going for the castle, right? And so as they're going, they do realize that they're on a giant mech, and none of them are like really going to be like in the manga. This mech doesn't even show up. The mech's not super important to the entirety of the story, but it's at this point in this part of the story where Tezzeret wakes up. And in that moment, the Wanderer tries to draw her sword, but he's able to wave his hand, and he yanks every smoke device out of Kaito's belt and scatters them. And Kaito reaches out, and he's able to like grasp. He catches the Wanderer, and the Wanderer's just looking straight at Tezzeret, and he just jumps off of the mech. And Tamio lets out this huge strained cry, because Tamio's the one that's been trying to control this mech, and they were seconds away from impact, too close to the surface to avoid smashing into it. And they're like, we need to jump. And so they all jump off in that moment. And in this, like this, just imagine this crashed lizard mech on the ground, smoke everywhere, and Kaito just slowly getting up, looking for any sign of the Emperor, and he can't find her. And he's thinking about the fact that she could be gone. And there's moth riders flying above them. And
those are real.
And so they're basically like, they're flying above them. They're kind of ignoring them because obviously there's an actual war going on. They made it to Igandro, but that's basically it. And so he yells at Tamio, what happened? I thought he was paralyzed. And so she lifts her hand, and the reality chip is embedded in it. And because the reality chip is the only reason she was actually able to interact with the mech, and it was starting to interfere with her magic. So she couldn't actually maintain the binding spell and fly the mech at the same time. And
so
then
Tamio just magically took the reality chip while we weren't looking.
Yeah, pretty much. When Tamio was given the reality chip, that's why she had it like that. So Tamio still has the chip in her. Tezzeret can't be found, and the Wanderer is missing.
Is the Wanderer like bleeding out too? Because we like ripped a jellyfish out of her veins, or are we just not talking about that? That's obviously going to be happening.
The Wanderer is very metal, so they kind of just like pulled it out of her hand, like very carefully, because Tamio is gentle. So
it's like, I'm gonna pull it out of her veins without ripping them. How? Go for it.
And so while this is happening, while you have this happening, all around them is the actual war of the Uprisers and the Imperials, and they're fighting each other, and there's like samurai and there's these battle mechs, and there's Kitsune, and there's everything happening, or Kitsune, and everything's happening in this area while Kaito is trying to find the Tezzeret. Trying to find Tezzeret. And then he sees in the distance the Emperor. And I like to imagine, it says that she's just making her way towards Kyodai's chamber, but I like to imagine that she's just running up the wall, like really fast, like Naruto running up the wall. And you just see like the wind like flying behind her.
It's just like, wow, she learned a lot while off plane.
Because it even says here, Rizona was there, a few buildings ahead, with several uprisers scaling the wall beside her. She must use the battle as a diversion and slip past the most heavily guarded areas. So now you have Rizona. She's making her way up the wall as well. You have the Emperor. She's going up the wall. And then behind them, Tezzeret, also chasing after the Emperor. And so, yeah, it's pretty crazy seeing everything. So Kaito, he just goes for it. And he just starts running towards Tezzeret, trying to take him out. Because he knows that if he can take down Tezzeret, he'll be able to save everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And again, this is kind of where you see that Kaito is just ridiculously outclassed by Tezzeret. Because there's like these bits of ceramic everywhere, and he's able to like psychic them towards Tezzeret and bop him in the head over and over again. But Tezzeret is just so much stronger, right? And so throughout all of that, Tezzeret is still analyzing the entire field. And he's getting away from Kaito. He's taunting Kaito the entire time. It doesn't matter, right? And so there was like one of the things that was near Tamio. She's down at the bottom. She's getting a scroll ready, and she's going to try and like actually do something, right? There's this electric fan, like a bladed electric fan in a sand garden near Tamio. Of all the things, right? Just a normal metal fan. Tezzeret spins it up and sends it directly towards Tamio and makes it explode. And the sand splashes into Tamio's eyes and blinds her.
I didn't know we were the enemies of a Paper Mario game at this point. Tezzeret's over here just being Mario, just like, oh, I can use that giant fan sticker.
Pretty much. And so basically, Kaito keeps picking up the tiles and throwing them at Tezzeret, and Tamio's trying to like basically get back to the whatever the scroll had fallen. And Kaito charges before Tezzeret has time to recover, swings his leg, and collides his foot with Tezzeret's chin. Like, Kaito knows that he can't use his tech to be able to take down Tezzeret, because Tezzeret will just turn it against him. Uh-huh. And so he just kind of like just keeps wailing on Tezzeret, trying to stop him as best as he can. And Kaito's like actively throwing off all of his armor. Like anything that's made of metal, anything that's tech, he is just tossing it off. And he just keeps punching Tezzeret the entire way. Punch after punch after punch. And Tezzeret has his metal arm up. And Tezzeret snatches at the shirt and pulls him close. And there's only a metal fist between them. And he says, you and I were here once before, and it didn't end well for you. And Kaito says, well, you know what they say. If at first you don't succeed, the next time, bring a friend. And Tezzeret's like, nobody says that. And when he looks up, like, now does he look up? First, a golden blade shows up in his thigh, and he's like, what? And then he sees Aiko, his Kaito's sister, and Kaito's drone, which had basically summoned Aiko there.
That's awesome.
And Tezzeret's like, nah, this isn't right. And then Tamio uses the paralysis scroll, and Tezzeret stiffens. And Tamio's looking straight at him like she's not going to let him go. And she goes, tell the Imperials to prepare an appropriate holding cell somewhere without tech. And everyone's like, yeah, we did it. Kaito's like, we got him. Okay, good. I'll go to a light pause. And so he goes and he starts going down. And then Tezzeret just kind of snaps at him. There's no need to keep me in Iganjo. I already have what Phyrexia wants. And then Tamio's hand begins to flash. And the reality ship starts going crazy. And Tamio is isn't prepared for this, and she loses her hold on Tezzeret. And she reels, and she clutches her hand to her chest. And Kaito's trying to figure out what's happening when Tezzeret just lunges at Tamio, grabs her by her shoulders, and he snarls. Tezzeret just snarls, and he just slashes the air with his metal arm, and his violent, jagged split opens up in the sky up in front of them with the crack of electricity, and the portal just grows to Tezzeret's full height. And then he just yanks Tamio through the light, and they both vanish from the rooftop.
Is that his planeswalk?
That's his planeswalk.
That's hardcore.
And the portal gives a metallic hiss and snaps shut. Tamio and Tezzeret were gone.
Oh,
Tamio! Oh, fate worse than death!
Well, we don't know where Tamio... We probably have an awesome idea of where Tamio is. But if you don't miss that cliffhanger. Leave a like if you like the video, subscribe, and definitely catch us next time where we're going to see the exciting conclusion of Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty just in time for New Capenna.
Yeah.
Yeah.